All right, take two. Part two, short answer questions number 12. Please take a moment and read through this question, and we'll go through and answer these. The population of interest here are all adults in Oakland, California. Okay. The parameter is the number for the population. Remember, the P for parameter and the P for population go together. So that's how you can remember the parameter number is the number for the population. And in this case, it's the unknown ratio of all residents represented by the statistic plus or minus the margin of error, or MO. The sample in this question are the people that they actually asked, which is 900 people right here. And of those 900 people, the statistic is the number that represents that sample. Of those 900 people, 45% of them said yes. So that's the statistic. And the margin of error is plus or minus 3%. Okay. The margin of error takes into account, the reason you have it takes into account any random sampling errors. Question 13, the school principal wants to form a student committee to review the lunch menu in the school cafeteria. She'd like to select a random sample of 20 students from the 1,500 students in the school to serve on the committee. So question A, tell the principal how to go about obtaining a simple random sample of 20 students using the random digits table below. Be very specific so she can follow your instructions with ease. Everybody in the room should be listening to this because in quiz 2.1, a lot of you got it wrong. Step number 1, assign each student a number from 001 to 1,500. And since 1,500 has 4 digits in it, you have to start 1 with 0001. So it also has 4 digits to make it the percentage the same. Number 2, beginning with the first number in the line, mark the numbers in groups of 4. So starting here with 6, I do 1, 2, 3, 4, mark, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. This 0 stands for part of the number here. It's all one number even though there's a space. Okay, and keep going until you are done with the line. And then choose only the numbers that are from 001 to 1,500. So if you look at question C, it's asking you for the first 3 numbers, right? So 6094, the first one doesn't count because that is out of the range. 0720 is the first one. The second one would be not this one, not this one, not this one, not this one. Here. And the third one here. Okay. Would you advise the principal to take a stratified random sample? Yes, so that you get the same amount of students for each grade in case they have different answers. All right. Second half on the back of this page. The first one is simple. It's asking the same thing that the first one in question 12 was asking. What is the population, the parameter, the sample, and the statistic? The population, all adults in the U.S. The sample, or how many people they're actually asking, is 1,028. Okay, that's right here. That's who they're actually asking the question. The parameter is the number that goes with the population, and it's the same answer as before. It's the unknown ratio represented by the statistic and the margin of error. The actual statistic, the number that goes with the sample, is 81%. Okay. Question B, give a complete confident statement about the percent of the population that considers pro wrestling to be a sport. So we're representing the population, which is why we're using the margin of error. Since 81% is the statistic, we can say we are 95% confident that 81% of adults in the U.S. do not consider pro wrestling to be a sport with a margin of error of plus or minus 3.1%. Question C, in all 151 people in the sample of 1,000, they were fans of pro wrestling. If we asked those 151 people who is your favorite pro wrestler, 24% said Steve Austin was their favorite. Gallup gave a margin of error for this result. Would it be larger than, about the same as, or smaller than the margin of error for the part you calculated in B? and explain. So it's going to be much larger error. If you remember, the formula for the margin of error is 1 over the square root of n, where n is the sample size. If you put that into the calculator, the sample size is 151 instead of 1,028, which gave you a percent of 3.1%. If we find the square root of 151, okay, and then do 1 divided by 12.3, okay, you get 8.1% right there. So that's going to be a much larger margin of error. And D, lastly, the confidence statement you gave in Part B does not take into account errors resulting from the various practical difficulties in a survey of opinion. Name 3 kinds of non-sampling errors that can affect the survey, and there's a whole list of them in the book. And on the test that we take on Friday, you might need different ones than the ones that I have here. For this one, I have errors that don't have anything to do with this random sampling, non-response, no answer, or they hang up, under coverage, if people don't have a landline that are chosen in the sample, and some systematic errors such as data entry when they finished the sample. If you remember from the book, they talked about the candidate who was black and they had the poll incorrect because people said they voted for him and they really didn't. That's another non-sampling error, and wording of the problem could create bias. So on the actual test, those may work better than some of these problems here.